Welcome to Real Estate Powerhouse, live on Tab Talks with your host, Taliya Bashani, top real estate attorney and negotiation expert. This is your opportunity to get the inside scoop and hear straight from top real estate agents in the business. Broadcasting live from New York City, learn the secrets of their success and hear the most authentic, real, unfiltered stories about how they got to where they are today. From their wins to their failures to the biggest lessons of their careers and what keeps them rising to the top. And now, here is your host attorney, Taliya Bashani.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Powerhouse, live on Tab Talks. Today in the studio, we have Mike Fabbri joining us from the agency. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hello, Taliya. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the real estate biz. Great.
Yeah, I've had kind of an unconventional path through real estate. I fell backwards into it. It was about a decade, I want to say 2016 or 15, when I was approached. At the time, I was running a tech startup and I was doing a lot of consulting for digital and social media for luxury brands. And it was kind of during a time where social media wasn't necessarily its own discipline yet. And I was approached by the CEO of Douglas Elliman to come and help them with the digital and social media for the brand, the global brand. And that's really where I got my start. I was like a kid in the candy store, because with real estate, there's just so many ways to tell a story and also to have impact when it comes to marketing and sales that they really just weren't utilizing on the digital space. So I really made a huge impact very quickly and fell in love with it. And that's really where I started. And this is well before I got my license and started selling.
Okay, so you already kind of got exposed to the real estate industry through the tech side or, digital media marketing side, which is amazing because that's so many agents. It's kind of like reverse, right? Where they have all this sales experience, but they don't really have, the digital marketing and tech experience that you already came to the business with. So I'm sure that's a huge plus for you. And then at what point did you say, you know what, I want to become an agent. I want to get out here and start selling?
Yeah. So I realized quickly. So, basically I became like an in-house coach with Douglas Elliman, and then Compass recruited me to go there and do the similar thing. So I was working with teams, with new development, with agents individually and helping them build their brand, use digital and social media, et cetera. And I realized that the skill set I had was being, I was teaching it to all these really successful people in sales. And the one thing I found, there was a disconnect. Like, I just didn't have that actual firsthand experience of what being a real estate agent is and selling.
Right.
So the reason for me going into sales was actually not to become an agent. It was more to just get the experience so that when I was able to, I was coaching or mentoring or, working with agents or developers, I had that experience to draw from. And I really understood what a day in the life was like. So I got my license in 13 days, I think.
Wow, that's speedy.
Well, I think I left my computer for, all day, and then I scheduled my test right away. So anyway, I did that in record time, and I decided to go to Corcoran to do that. Pam and Bill, they really saw something in me and believed in me, and they said, we really want to really help you become a star. And I said, I just really want to get experience. And I felt like Corcoran, just because it's such an established brand, and I really liked I would say I really like the brand positioning, and I just felt like I aligned, and there was some leadership there I really loved. I figured that was a safe place to get started, and I would do it for a year and then go back to the corporate side. And I told them that I was like, I really want to continue this path. And then after a year, I got Rookie of the Year. And I fell in love with it. Learned so much very quickly. But I got Rookie of the Year, and then I never looked back. So that's
amazing. Well, congratulations. That's a huge honor, especially, so early into your career. What do you attest that to? So how did you generate such success in your first year? What takes a lot of agents maybe a few years to actually achieve. So what do you think sets you apart in that sense?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and one that I love to talk about. my whole goal was, again, it wasn't to make money necessarily. I just always tell people in real estate, you have to plan for 2 years of no income potentially while you build your business. So for me, it was about the learning experience itself. And that to me was more valuable than a quick paycheck. So I didn't start really on the rental side or just doing cold leads. What I did was I offered every single agent in the office. I said, listen, I'm used to working with agents, so I want to be collaborative. Can you help me on listings? Can you help, let me shadow you or help you with buyers? Throw me at anything. I'll take literally like nothing. I'll take like,
wow.
I really, obviously not nothing. I wanted to keep the lights on, but really it was the experience. So offering up. So what I always tell people is offer to work for free, build your resume, because the hardest thing in this business is getting that foot in the door and the opportunity. It's like a chicken before the egg. Like you want to sell a $10 million penthouse, but you have sold the $10 million penthouse before.
Right. Yeah.
So by collaborating with agents like Deborah Grooveman, Robbie Brown, Susanna Landrum, so many people, and I would just offer to do the digital or social media and blah, blah, blah. And I was put on these big listings, and then I leveraged that to be able to build credibility within my network and my sphere of influence, that people then assumed I worked these really good, big types of deals for a long time.
Right.
It was like a little bit of, I guess the word, fake it till you make it, but really not faking it. Just, it's really, I would say collaboration, respect of your peers.
Yeah.
And finding opportunities that are long-term.
Right.
Solving versus short-term.
Sure.
That was the key to my success early on.
I love that. That's so important. And I love that you say that, because it's a marathon, not a sprint, and you're going to achieve greater success if you have that big picture. And it sounds like you really kind of teamed up with these, strong, successful agents that took you under their wing, and you really learned, and climbed the ropes very quickly.
Yeah. I think coming into it with a humble attitude and it's also that respect. I think as agents, it's every deal is so tense, and it brings out the worst in everyone, the best in everyone. I think just having a level of empathy and respect for the people you work with go a long way with people wanting to do deals with you and work with you.
Right. And no ego, and you took your ego out of it.
Yeah, no ego. It's one thing I learned really early on. And I think it's a nature of the psychology I always learned with an agent is like, the barrier to entry is very low. You don't need a college education. You barely need a pulse to take the test. And it tends to bring in, so at people at a certain level, they do have a fragile ego, because there's no hierarchy. There's no way of saying, everyone says I'm the number one agent in the world or whatever. There's always accolades, but there's no real official title structure, hierarchy, or measurement. So people tend to have very fragile egos, and they want the self-respect of the work and that they've done. So really playing to that and being sensitive to that. And, I think it is such a grind. It's not this glamorous thing that we see on TV. And,
Right.
Well, there is parts of that. And that's the parts I love. That most of the time, 90% of the day-to-day is a grind. You're just being beaten up, and, you have no control over your own time. And so I think because of all that, there's a sensitivity that when you're dealing with your fellow agents, or even, and with clients or with attorneys, anyone, it's just taking a step and really having that be first.
Yeah, absolutely. And also realizing that it's a team effort, that we're all in it together. We're all on the same page. We're trying to get the deal, to the closing table, represent our, client's interests to the best of our ability, and making sure it's as smooth as possible. So I think, taking the ego out really is a huge component of success in this industry. Yeah, so speaking of which a little bit, so when you got started, so, there's a lot of agents that, prefer to join a team when they're first getting started, or, there's agents that prefer to work, as a solo agent with no team, just on their own. So what do you think is the best approach? And I know, and I can't keep up with you, because sometimes you're on a team, sometimes you're on your own. So, and you're just always moving and shaking. So from your perspective, what do you think are the pros and cons?
That's a great question. Yeah, like you said, I've done everything. That's more, again, I'm just one of those people, I have to experience it, to understand it, and to see what the best path forward is, especially if I'm advising agents on what to do and figuring out my own career path. So I've done a lot of trial and error. My goal at the beginning, my strategy was I'm going to stay independent, even though I have no sales, no GCI, and I want the flexibility to be able to work and learn from multiple different agents and teams. Mm-hmm. So that gave me that freedom. So if you're able to do that, and you have enough savings to support your career for the first year or two, with that idea of most of the time you're going to be working for free or very little to build that experience, I think being independent has its perks that way. Okay. If you have that natural proclivity about you to collaborate, if you don't, perhaps joining a team is the best way, because then you can also gain a lot of experience, learn to work with people, learn the ins and outs of a deal. But then, kind of having this is your pecking, your lane to stay in and your specialty. But I find that could be limiting to some people who don't really know what that is yet. And a lot of times teams are structured where they just have to keep the ball going. So if they hire you, they're like, you have to do this, your board packages, that's it. And
right.
But being on a team myself, I found the value is leveraging the team to build my own business. So when Ryan Serhant, when I joined him, I loved the way he structured his team, because he always said, he's like, I'm the quarterback. And then, everyone is on the team and everyone has their different jobs. But like, in order for me to keep, to keep moving forward and building a pipeline, like you all have to be able to take and run with what I give you and turn that into more business. So so Ryan would, bring me in on a client or a listing, and then I would help him convert that and turn it into 3 or 4. And then all of a sudden it became my own book of business with him. So I found that to be successful. I don't, not every team is structured the same way. Some are more of a pyramid where, some are base salary, and you kind of get pigeonholed. So it's really kind of just aligning what you want, where do you want to be, and how to get there. Yeah. And there's no one way to do it.
Yeah, right. It's whatever works best for you. Like you said, for your personality, and if you like the support of a team, or if you're really a trailblazer and you want to be solo and independent and, make your own moves. I guess it really kind of depends on the person and the personality.
Yeah. And it's a good point, because right now I'm at a point in my career where I just changed over to the agency. Yeah. And they asked me the first thing, how do you want your team to be, your team logo? And I said, I don't want to do any of that yet. I want to figure this out and figure out what's the best. So what I'm seeing, something I'm playing with, is structuring a team more of like a partnership. So it's a partnership of, 4 or 5 agents who I consider my, whether they are junior or whatever, it's an opportunity to help them build their business and work together on certain listings, on certain clients, but it's not a one, everyone could be a little more individualistic and create something that benefits the whole and also the individual. So that's kind of what I'm playing with right now.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, congrats on your, your transfer, your move to the agency. Definitely a strong brand. I know it's new to New York, but definitely, a high level brand and agency. So congrats on that. We actually had Elena in the studio a couple weeks ago. So she's also with the agency. So now you have a new counterpart.
Great. So let's a really, really great group of agents, and a really, wonderful company. That the onboarding was super easy. Yeah. They've got great tech, and, it's a brand that is just kind of starting to build in New York. And that's where I saw something really exciting there that I'd love to be on the ground up with it.
No, that's amazing. And they're more boutique-y, which I like too. They have that family feel. It's more of an intimate setting. So, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about, representing buyers versus representing sellers. Some agents are strictly listing agents. They like to go after exclusives. Other agents focus on, just buyers because they love working, with buyers or investors or whatever it may be. Tell us a little bit about what, how your business is made up.
Great. Yeah, It's a great question, because this is one of those things, but before I became an agent, I would always ask my agents I worked with, are you a buyer's agent, a seller's agent? Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And the answers are always so overlap, but I always found that people wanted to be listing agents as their focus, or new development. So I just assumed that is the goal to take. And the reason is, though, because in New York, or actually this might be in the nation, really they only measure sell side deals. If you're the listing agent, it's very hard to measure buy side deals. So when you're ranking against each other, because that's really just one of the ways you can really feel confident and explain to your clients how successful you are or competent. But the rankings usually favor listing agents. So I found that out. So when you see rankings of like the top 10 agents in this market, it's usually not that accurate, because there are people who only work with buyers. And so I'll give an example. I because of my marketing background and so I tended to do a lot more listings because that's where it needed that. And I wanted to build my resume. And then I found it was actually during COVID that, the market took a turn, and it was really, really hard to have a listing, and you felt like you could never win. And I found it a lot more fulfilling to work with buyers, not only because they could get a deal during this time when the market was soft, but I just felt like what I love about the profession and the job is that intimate relationship you develop with your clients and with other agents. So I felt like being on the buy side with them, learning about their life, what their needs are, helping them navigate this, whether it's their first time, second time, or 10th time doing it. My level of emotional intelligence, which I find is my biggest strength, actually was better suited for the buy side.
Okay. I
didn't feel like I was, it felt a little more freeing. I don't know how to describe it. So after the pandemic, I became probably majority buy side.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was also naturally happened just because of I'm 36, and my age and my sphere of influence were becoming first-time home buyers in their early 30s. Yeah. So
you're relatable.
Yeah. So maybe that had something to do with it. But anyway, and then I did that for 2 years, and I did extremely well, and I loved it, honestly. But then I realized my listings had taken a hit. And I needed to beef up that side of my business because, again, that's how you're ranked, and that's what people see. So my focus now is getting to a more equilibrium of 50-50.
Okay.
Which it's not difficult to do. You just have to, it's a different type of focus on when you're building your pipeline. And then the third thing is new development, which I always put it in its own category. So this is my third building I've sold. I was director of sales at 145 Central Park North.
Okay.
And because of that took up 50% of my time. So I would be necessarily more focused on listings and sellers. Yes. I was focusing on new development, which, again, I'm not complaining about. I love it. Yeah. But my ideal split now, looking at this from where I am now, would be like a third, buyers, sellers, and new development.
Wow, that's a fantastic balance. I mean, that's great because you have the best of everything.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I love that you kind of like spearheaded into the new dev, arena as well, because that really, like you said, with the rank and with, showing that experience under your belt, if you could sell out a building, I mean, you can just take that once you have that track record, you could take that to other developers and they're like, hey, yeah, I'll definitely give you a shot because, the proof is in the pudding. So.
Yeah, totally. It was another thing I kind of fell backwards into, and similar to what I was saying before, to get into new development, you have to sell new development. It's like, right. Yeah. So what I did was the first project I worked on was one in Carroll Gardens in Brooklyn. And I said, literally, I'll take 0.5%. I don't care. I just want to learn and be on it. We sold out the building, and then they hired me to be the director of sales in my next one because of the good work I did. So while, it's like sacrificing short-term gains for long-term growth.
There you go. Honestly, I think that is the ticket. I think you just nailed it, and that's the secret of success.
But I do want to say one thing, because this isn't to say across the board, I think people should discount our services. I think it's really important to hold the line. at what your value is and, the value of what we do as agents. So I would say that was more of a personal thing starting out and getting, but in general, I do feel the discounting model is just dangerous for all of us as a profession. So really just holding the line when it comes to knowing your value, and especially when it comes to clients.
And to your point, I think that's really important, especially with your everyday, resale. Okay. So obviously if you're taking a seller and you're taking a listing, I think that's super important. But to your point, when you're brand new and kind of the new dev world and you want to take on a whole project, you might have to give a little bit of a discount to the sponsor only to get your foot in the door, because like you said, the long-term gain just by proving your success and staying humble in the beginning really pays off for you in the long run. So I think that's an important distinction to be made.
Yeah, very well said.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mike. We are going to take a brief commercial break, and then we will be right back with Mike Fabbri and part 2 of the show. Stand by. Whether you are a new buyer or a seasoned investor in the real estate market, you need top legal representation and expertise to ensure your transactions close smoothly and successfully. As someone whose priorities are communication, attention to detail, efficiency, and creative negotiation, Tab Law Firm provides hands-on, personalized service that focuses on clients' needs and peace of mind. After working with big corporate law firms, I realized their focus was on volume rather than nurturing and protecting their clients. I then decided to start my own firm 15 years ago to provide exceptional, personalized service that protects and informs my clients every step of the way. Most of my clients are looking for guidance, transparency, and clear communication throughout their real estate transaction. Making myself available to my clients is one of my top priorities, and my expertise allows me to foresee issues before they happen and avoid potential downfalls. This proactive approach safeguards my clients from incurring any additional expenses, delays, or stress. During the selling or buying process, efficiency is key. I keep all parties informed and organized, ensuring we close smoothly. I fancy myself as a deal maker, not a deal breaker. If you are looking to buy or sell real estate, or if you are a real estate broker looking for an attorney who's going to be communicative, efficient, and responsive to you and your clients, then contact me at Tali360.com. And let's start working together. Close with Tab and feel fab. All right, welcome back everyone for part 2 of Real Estate Powerhouse live on Tab Talks. Today we have Mike Fabbri from the agency with us, and we are going to kick off part 2 of the show with a question regarding what has been your biggest challenge in your real estate career.
I would say my biggest challenge in real estate is learning learning to put your own feelings and emotions to the side, and really, really developing your level of emotional intelligence to get deals done, because it could be so tense and it could be so, it's the most expensive and emotional transaction of someone's life. And you're in the thick of it as an agent.
Right.
So not losing your cool, really like figuring out how to problem solve and really take care of your clients, both emotionally and in the transaction. I found that to be a challenge at the beginning, because I'm very passionate. I'm very emotional. I am very genuine. So my relationships with my clients, they tend to be friends. So it just gets it can be a lot. So I've learned to really be able to separate and kind of keep myself in check. And that's really with relying on the people you work with too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's sometimes you find yourself being a therapist, sometimes you're their real estate agent, you're their friend. So it's definitely all encompassing, and they lean on you. A lot of these clients, they come to you as like, because listen, unlike the attorney, such as myself, I just get involved in the deal, when an offer is accepted and the contract goes out. You guys are really in the thick of it it could be for months, it could be a whole year leading up, building these relationships with the clients before they even get to the point of making an offer and having it accepted. Or if you're in the position of like bidding wars, or they get outbid, or, whatever it may be, it's like you take it to heart just as much as they do. So you guys are really in the grind in it together. So I can definitely, see how that becomes taxing and challenging.
Yeah, it can be, but it's a good segue with working with people like you, Taliya. It's, that makes all the difference, because it could be a really, really tricky spot. Maybe it's something you haven't experienced yet in a deal, and having a full team around you to support you, especially an attorney that can explain intricacies like that you've seen that maybe I haven't. I remember I was going to use this in the Q&A later, but I will tell you, one of my hardest deals of my life, you were there for me for. It was that townhouse in Brooklyn and Bushwick, and we were at the closing table, and some people were crying. It was just getting so intense, and
it was,
having you, I had never done a townhouse in Bushwick at that point, so it was all very new to me. So being able to lean on and rely with the people that you work with is a huge help.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about. It's a team effort, and it's making sure that we're working together. And you were playing the angle with the listing agent. I was playing the angle with the seller's attorney. We were stepping out of the room. We were coming in the room. We were stepping out. But at the end of the day, we got it to close, and it was through that team effort that really, because there's some attorneys out there that are ball busters. They will, come hell or high water, they are not budging, and they will walk out of that room, and they will kill the deal. They're deal breakers. And I'm like, we did not come this far to lose everything, and let's just find a common ground and make it work and be reasonable. And I think that's what it takes. And that's why, to your point, saying sometimes you have to set your emotions aside, because we could have been, just raging and, how could you guys not do this or whatever? But no, we actually worked it out, and we got the deal to close, and it was a great deal, and everybody was happy. So thanks for that.
And I appreciate you enough.
Thank you. And I appreciate you too. So now let's talk about your biggest wins. Like, what do you think was your, the game changer for you? And, it just really was like the pinnacle of your success that really set things off for you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I want to point to 2 points in my career where that happened. The first was obviously getting Rookie of the Year my first year, because especially at Corcoran, which is number 1 or number 2 largest in the city. And working so hard, but not really seeing, again, not expecting this to be a long-term career, but seeing that come to fruition, that gave me the confidence and the aha moment that, I can do this.
Okay. Yeah.
And I love this. So, and then being able to use that as credibility after only 1 year in the business. It's really about a step, like what are those moments that can help you level up from there? So you're always looking at it that way. And that's the only way you can really plateau. And then the second, I guess there's 3. The second was when Ryan Serhant reached out to me to recruit me. And again, at that point, I'd been Rookie of the Year. I'd done really well for my first 3 or 4 years. But for someone like him to see something in me was also another moment. And I'd never met him before. He had just heard good things. And so I realized my visibility and my relationships in this industry were actually resonating and getting the attention of people like him. So using that as an asset itself too, that, sales are obviously the goal and the number 1, but just being well-respected, well-liked, doing good, and having the reputation speak for you has only propelled me in my career. It's helped me get deals done that wouldn't have been able to possible before, because people want to work with me. So there's that. And then the third thing was, I think when it comes to my personal sales, and it was a friend of mine. They had been trying to sell their townhouse for, I think, 2 years. It was on the market for 2 years, very overpriced, and the marketing wasn't really servicing the quality of the product. And never wanting to be too pushy, I would, I'd always check in with him about it and ask. And, he said, I think he acknowledged my work and some stuff I'd done, but again, nothing at this level. I think it was 12 million when
Wow.
I've been used to playing in like the 2 to 5 at most range.
Yeah, the sweet spot. Mm-hmm.
So they said, why don't you come take a look? And I brought Ryan with me, and we hit it off. And then after that, they said, we'd really like to work with you. So
Awesome.
it was my first listing of that level.
Mm-hmm.
That was wholly mine, that I was able to really, really put my passion into. And we ended up selling it during the pandemic. This is a deal. We had like 4 contracts, I think, fall through. The last being during COVID. We ended up selling it though. But then again, using that as a launch pad, that now no one can say I can't not only sell at that price point, but also procure it myself. It's based on a lot of relationship building and hard work, and not just someone gave out to me. So that gives me confidence to then build more from there.
Yeah, that's huge. You earned it. And, it's a big notch on your belt. And again, it sets the stage, because now you can approach other sellers in that, in that echelon of high-end luxury real estate and say, look, I successfully sold this. I can do the same thing for you. And they trust you. And I think, I always tell agents that are going after, kind of like the big fruit on the tree, not the low hanging, but the higher premium, that it's all about setting that track record and getting video testimonials from other clients, who you've worked with, because you can go and pitch them all day long, but if they heard from somebody that you successfully sold their $12 million townhome and you did it with finesse and ease and smoothly and all these great things, then that really kind of, sets the stage moving forward for you. So that's fantastic. Now, what is the biggest lesson of your career? So looking back over almost the last decade, if you were to say to yourself back then, hey, had I known this, what I know now versus what I knew then, what was the biggest lesson for you that really has changed maybe how you approach real estate or how you handle your business?
Yeah, a lot of lessons. I'll say the biggest one was learning who to trust. It is a very unregulated, to be a real estate agent, you're an independent contractor. So there's really no one protecting you. You're on your own. Even with the brokerages, they're not, you're not an employee there. There's no HR. So you really have to keep the people you trust close and the people who advise you to help you. Because there's a lot of people who will, just the nature of the job, it's just so cutthroat. It's so fast paced. It's so, no 2 deals the same. Like everyone is fighting and climbing and clawing to the top. Brings out the worst people. So a big lesson I learned was not to trust people at face value, and to ask the questions at the beginning, to really make sure you're comfortable, whether it's you're joining a team, deciding to work with an agent, deciding to work with a client who could be abusive, to what brokerage you join or build your career. If there's smoke, there's fire. So try to trust your gut, because that you need that to fall back on. I don't know if that's too broad of an answer, but
I think that's an excellent answer. And it's so true, because I've heard that, you'll have a listing and another agent from another brokerage will call that seller and try and, yank the listing.
Or the same brokerage.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a dog eat dog world. And you're right. You can't, I think, sometimes people come into the industry naive, thinking that everybody is, pretty much playing fair, but there really are some, cutthroat agents out there, and you can't, trust everyone that you come across. You have to be.
And I'm hoping, I think it's just been an industry where bad behavior has been rewarded for too long, and I think it is shifting now. And I'm seeing that, in little moments and little interactions, and I think the way brokerages are kind of taking more of a focus on encouraging and building good behavior and good best practices. So that's exciting. So I think on the flip side, it's like setting the example or being the change you want to see, and so that's why even if someone's treating me terribly, I will always kill them with kindness, with respect.
Right.
I won't trust them, but
Yeah.
just having empathy, and then also any chance you get, if someone asks you for help or see someone struggling, or someone, there's an opportunity you could take advantage of someone who's really just trying to don't, do the right thing. And I do believe that it's karma. It'll come back to you, but also it will improve. It'll make a bigger effect in the industry overall.
1000%. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you coming on the show today. If our viewers and listeners want to get in touch with you directly, what's the best way for them to connect?
I would say follow me on Instagram and DM me at Mike_Fabbri. And then my email is mike.fabbri@theagency.re. And any form of communication, I'm very responsive, almost too responsive, I would say, is according to my partner.
Well, good. That means you're here for your clients. So, you're willing to take on any job.
Yeah. But Instagram I love because it's a way of, if you just meet someone briefly, then it's a face to the name. You can kind of build a rapport that really helps you build a relationship before there's necessarily even one. So that's always a great means of reaching out to me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Again, so wonderful having you on the show today, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. This has been so fun, and you're the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a great.
You've been tuning into Real Estate Powerhouse live on Tab Talks with your host attorney, Taliya Bashani. For more information, please visit Tali360.com. You can watch this show streaming live on StreamYard and available across all social media outlets, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook Live, and more. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, and questions, and please share this show with your network.
All right, amazing. You nailed it. Yay. That was awesome. That was that was like by far one of my top favorite interviews.
Oh, thank you.
Sarah can say the same. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. And we have 5 minutes.
You're a great interviewer. I don't know. Did you have any background in TV?
No, everybody says I should be a newscaster or whatever, news anchor. And I'm like, well, I turned into real estate law. So here I am. But this is
already got the fake studio. You're ready.
Yeah, look, I'm right in there. Exactly.
Oh, good.
Thank you. So I'm going to hop off. We have 5 minutes to spare. So Sarah's going to record your video testimonial.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing that. And thanks again, and can't wait to see you on the next one.
All right, Talia, thanks. I think Thomas is blowing us up about that.
About that wire? Yeah, I know. So
does he really have till Monday, or they cancel it?
No. I was just saying I need the funds by Monday because we're closing on Tuesday. Not that he's gonna send money from another account, and he said, "What's the latest he can send it to me?" And I said, "Monday's the latest I can get the wire." And then worst comes to worst, I'll adjourn it. They're not going to cancel it.
Okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. He seems to not always understand things.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't understand.
All right, Talia, thank you so much.
I'll clarify that. Okay, you got it. All right,
Talia.
thanks. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mike, are you clear on what she wants from you?
Yep. So just just talk freely. There's no question.
Stream of consciousness for a minute or two about things that are great about Talia.
Great.
And give me some sort of indication that you are finished at the end.
I'll just go
All
like
right.
that.
I will remove myself and go for it.
Hi, I'm Mike Fabbri. I've been working with Taliya Bashani for the better part of my career. I think our first deal together was 7 years ago. And it was actually the toughest deal of my life. It was a townhouse in Brooklyn, and I had never sold a townhouse in Brooklyn before, so I was way in over my head. And having Taliya support, and also her just passion for making a deal happen, not letting anyone get too, caught up or worked up, and really, as she always says, she's a deal maker, not a deal breaker. And that really, really, really proved itself in that deal. We were at a closing table with people crying, people screaming, people walking away, and she was able to keep everyone calm and get it done. So for that, that was the first start to our relationship. And I just always trusted her with my clients because she really advocates for them. And every client that I've referred to her really feels like she's not only knows what she's doing, and is confident in her approach, but she's also has a really good bedside manner to really make them feel comfortable. And I think that's very important too, because oftentimes attorneys can be very cold or just very matter of fact. And then it's on the agent to have to clean it up. And so she really helps agents with that side of it. It's really managing clients' expectations and keeping their, emotions in check and feeling taken care of. So I highly recommend Taliya for anyone who has, whether it's clients that need an extra hand holding or not, because every deal is really, really difficult. They're really, really complex. So you need someone who's a problem solver and collaborative and really wants to think creatively to get deals done. So Taliya is wonderful in that regard, responsive, and also just, I think an extension, I always think of her as an extension of my team. And because you really need to have, I would say, different perspectives on a deal to really make it happen. So on the legal side, contract side, things I don't really understand or know, she can really help bring to a level where we can explain it to the clients and on both sides. She's also just a wonderful, kind, and passionate person. I think that in itself is very rare to find in the attorney, real estate attorney career. But you can really tell, and that comes through, and that's also helpful because it's not just a transaction. It's so multifaceted. There's so many personalities involved. So having someone who's passionate, who also has charisma to really help you with your clients is important. And then someone who can really fight for you and go to bat, and do things that maybe are outside of the scope of her services that she just does, because that's what it takes to get a deal done. I think there's just a lot about her and I that we have similar synergies in our way we conduct business. So highly recommend her to any real estate agent. She's one of the best.